So almost looks clean shaven, but not quite. Perilously close. And as far as other updates, I don't know if I have any other specific updates other than the kitty's back. The kitty's back over here. You can kind of see her butt there. She's kind of sitting on the side of the bed, but yeah, she's here. So we will feed the beast at the end. Apologies for, and the kitty apologizes for missing last week as well. That other commitment she had, just, she just had this commitment and she just had to go. Anyway, we do have a great show. I was looking at about 15 completely disjointed articles as I was preparing for the show. I'm like, what in the world can we possibly loop these out? And I somehow managed to shoehorn a couple of articles into two separate topics. So we will be talking about the Carve out that California age attestation law adds for Linux, which is interesting. We will talk about some fun stories about how AI is not actually helping the world. And then we go into our random mishmash of crazy articles for the week, including a number of fun security articles. So with that, if you do want to help support the channel, have a look at the website, switchedtolinux.com/support. We do have their affiliate links. So there's some affiliates I do recommend. Mint Mobile, of course, for cheaper smartphones. Amazon, we do use Amazon. I know Amazon is the devil, but you really can't buy a bunch of stuff without Amazon these days, so I may as well take a small cut out of it when you have to. Why not, right? We do have some monthly subscriptions. We have Locals, Patreon, and Subscribestar there as well. So you can have a look at the website, switchedtolinux.com/support. And with that, we are going to go ahead and get into our first topic after I get a drink of water and get Kermit out of my throat. So let's get started. Welcome back to the weekly news roundup. And we have been talking about the age verification and attestation for a while. I always like starting this with a little description as to clarifying the terms that we're talking about, because you hear about age verification and that means something different. The bill as it's written in Texas is written a whole lot different than the bill in California. California's is technically an age attestation, which means that the person setting up the operating system gets to choose without any external force what the age of that particular device is. And if we're going to have any of this dystopian nonsense, I would prefer an age attestation because it does give the parents the ability to set up a device for their children, for the parents that actually care, and are not abusing their children digitally. It allows them to do this. Now, jokes on them, all of your main platforms already allow you to do this. So these laws are utterly nonsense until we get into the age verification as the bill is written in Texas, which the age verification bill means that an external party has to verify the information that you are inputting is correct. And that is dystopian nonsense. And this is why it seems like all the conservative states tend to be pushing the age verification, whereas the more democratic states tend to be pushing the age attestation versions of the bill. And to be clear, both of them are bad, but I'd prefer the attestation versus the verification if that is the thing. But we covered last week that the Colorado bill passed with the carve out for FOSS, but then there was a question about whether or not the GPL3 license actually fits on that, because the way the ruling, the law is written, it basically says as long as it's written without any contractual obligations, and the GPL3 license has the a carve out for requiring extra contracts, which is what is at the center of the Only Office, Zero Office, Nextcloud debate. And so there's some questions about the interpretation of that, especially Clause 10 of the GPL basically says that no, you actually do not have to enforce these things. Like if somebody says, hey, you got to include this, 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 or this, unless it's some legal requirement, like, there was a court case that says this must be included in this type of software, you don't actually have to do that. And that's kind of what Clause 10 says. And so the question is does that GPL 3, is that qualified or not qualified under the Colorado bill? Well, the California bill, which had already passed before it even comes into effect, which is January of 2027, actually is getting an amendment put into that bill, which will actually do a better carve out for Linux, is specifically mentioned, and other open source redistributable, and modifiable applications without the contractual clause in it. That has actually been amended into the California bill. And so we're going to be looking at that, and then why none of this matters anyway. But let's go ahead and have a look at the Linuxiac article here. California bill adds open source carve out to age verification rules. Again, California 1856 is an age attestation, not an age verification. I like getting that right because one of them says an external company has to verify what you're saying is true, and the other one says that it is just up to the user to input it and results be darned. Although once enough people are doing the attestation, eventually everyone's going to flip to the verification, because this is not about protecting the children. This is about dystopian collection of data and knowing exactly who's doing what, to be completely clear. But they amended California Bill AB 1856 to exclude Linux distributions and other open source projects from the state's OS level age attestation rules. I'm going to correct the article as it says that. Key change, however, is the bill now adds an operating system provider does not include an entity that distributes an open source operating system or application under license terms, allowing the recipient to copy, redistribute, or modify the software. So we have a very good carve out for it. Of course, that's because these bills were not written with, these people, if you handed them a random phone and said, identify the type of operating system on this, they would look at you like a cow looking at a new gate. Huh? These people are incompetent, clueless retards writing all of our laws. And frankly, I think in this digital age, you should have to have a digital competency to even hold that office. If I say, here is my phone, tell me the basic type of operating system on this. If they can't look at it, look at the screen and go, oh, this is an iOS device, they have no business writing laws, because it would appear that they wrote these bills with the major vendors in place. They wrote these bills so that an Android operating system with the Google Play services installed in the Google Play Store is the monopolistic way to get your software, has to know what the age is of the end user so it doesn't download an application that is harmful to that particular user. And that makes sense in a world where Google and Android are your only options, or where Windows wants to force their verification on everybody. They're getting rid of their phone number SMS two-factor, which is great because that's a useless way to get into a system. It's very insecure. But they're basically doubling down on biometrics and passkeys, which the average person doesn't understand or does not feel comfortable using their biometrics to log into their Windows computer. So these lawmakers do not even realize something called Linux exists. They do not know that software exists out there, even though there's a Supreme Court case which basically says, yeah, you cannot force a programmer to write something they don't want to write, which all of these laws in the scope of the United States is a direct violation of the First Amendment anyway. Go figure. But that's okay. These people want to destroy that thing called the Constitution as it is. So in practice, the amendment appears to exclude most community and commercial Linux distributions from the definition of operating system provider. This approach distinguishes the California proposal from a broad OS age attestation mandate that would apply equally to both proprietary and open source platforms. And so there is good news in that. Now, the better news about this is there is actually an agreement between a number of left-leaning states that effectively anything California does, those states come behind it and work on implementing the law. This is why when California comes down and says, by 2035, we are going to ban gas guzzling cars, and then 20 other states come right behind it within a year or two and put in the same type of law. That's because there are a number of states that will simply do whatever California does, which in and of itself is stupid, but that's the way it is right now. So there is a little bit of good news in this, in that a majority of states might have specific carve-outs for this going ahead into the future. And so that is certainly a case. But there is some discussion here. Some of this actually comes from UK's Ofcom. This is the same group that keeps on threatening like Kiwi Farms and 4chan, I think, causing the 4chan's lawyers to do the most trolling thing ever and send them a declaration saying, hey, if you didn't know it, we signed our independence from you in 1776. So here's a picture of a giant, was it a was it a groundhog or something? It was some rodent tearing apart a city, saying, we are an American company under American jurisdiction. You don't have any authority over us. Go screw yourself. You don't like our stuff, ban it on your end. They don't want to ban it on their end, though, because then they'll be accused of having the Great Wall of UK, you know, and ugh. But out of this, there's some discussion about all this age gating. TikTok, YouTube, and Roblox face scrutiny, but age gates won't fix child safety. From Ofcom here, notably TikTok and YouTube failed to commit any significant changes to reduce harmful content being served to children. Maintaining their feeds are already safe for children. They're as safe as they can be, which is why the parents need to be the one regulating this, not Ofcom in the UK regulating YouTube and American companies' feed. Screw off. We don't care. Okay. And I don't care. Like, if there's something there that's a bothersome to me, I just click and either, I mean, if it's horribly bad, I might report it, or I'll just block the channel. And if I had children, well, I wouldn't be letting them on this stuff anyway. But that's the point. Like, we do not need a nanny state trying to protect our children. That is what the parent is for. But the parents aren't doing it. This is why we need digital parental neglect laws. Yay! Okay. Yeah, that could be abused. I understand that. But so can your children by the likes of AI field content creators. So, you know, I think that Skibbity Toilet and 6767 has harmed far more children than abusive parents. Okay, it has basically created an entire cultural young society of illiterate retards. You know. And the BBC reports that an Ofcom survey found 84% of children 8 to 12 are still using one of the major services with a minimum age of 13, despite the age gates. Oh, the humanity. Yeah, that's the parents' problems, not Ofcom's problems. Sorry. So in Roblox, Guardian reports U.S. advocacy groups have formally requested the FTC investigate them for what they call unfair and deceptive practices. Yeah, I mean, I don't think Roblox should exist in its current form. There should not be any form of internet-connected game targeted children that allows random people from across the world to talk to each other. Children should have no ability to communicate with other people as the core feature of a game targeted towards children. Okay, now if they want to get on your MA-17, is that the rating? Whatever, the mature rated video games, and their parents don't care. Well, that's why we have, you know, we need digital neglect laws, parental digital neglect laws. So there you go. So Roblox is already implementing new age-based safety measures. Young players are adept at circumventing these protections. Usually it's just a Sharpie and drawing on a fake mustache. Cybersecurity point of view. So what keeps them up at night is another angle to the problem. Many proposed age assurance solutions require users to hand over government IDs or biometric selfie data. We've already talked about that in the blog: age verification, child protection, or privacy risks. So age verification systems create massive data collection opportunities that become prime targets for all sorts of things. You know, it's just like, oh, but we delete the data immediately. Discord said, and T said, and T for him said, and a bunch of other places. The entire Italian government said, you know, yeah, they leaked all their information out as well. So when restrictions push younger users towards smaller or less secure sites, the kids then will encounter worse things. This is why I do not agree with any of these hard age verification things on porn sites. Okay, again, parents, protect your children. It is very possible as a parent to put in a custom DNS that blocks all of your major porn sites and many of your minor ones as well. The problem is if you make it harder, you know, do you think the kid is going to just stop? Oh, I guess I can't get into the famous PH. I guess we'll just go outside and ride bikes instead. Oh no, they are committed to their sin. Okay, they are committed to their debauchery. They will find a way. And if they cannot get onto the PH because the parents are not monitoring what they're doing on the internet, they will find darker, worse, and less regulated places that they cannot even take down. So it's better to let them have the little bit of the devil that has a seasoning of safeness to it, rather than get them into if they try hard enough, they might actually encounter something like snuff and hardcore or something crazy, and that would be really, really bad. Okay, so the problem is, of course, parents, keep your children off the internet. And this is not Ofcom's job. It's not the government's job. It's your job. So safer systems that beat stricter age gates. Protecting children should focus on building safer digital experiences. The only viable path forward is because stronger moderation actually removes content. So they're basically saying, hey, tell Facebook and YouTube to have actual better moderation. Systems that are actually good moderation systems, not AI bots that take down legitimate content while letting ElsaGate content proliferate upon the YouTube children's app. Okay. Again, just, let's not normalize children being on the internet. There's another thought. So apparently it doesn't really matter what we do because the kids are getting around it all anyway. And, there's not much more you can say about any of that. So it is good what California is doing, but all of this age attestation, age verification, it's not helpful. It's not useful. It doesn't help. What's going to help is when we can sit down and say, look, get your children off the internet. Let me know your thoughts about all that in the comments down below. All right, so our next topic, we got some fun situations of AI not helping. These could potentially be SillyVille-y type, but no, we got better SillyVille. Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome back to the weekly news roundup. In this segment, we're talking about AI is not actually helping all that much. Several cases about it. Of course, AI is being foisted upon everybody. Did I get that right word? I think I said hoisted before. Foisted. I think foisted is the correct word. Anyway, let me know in the comments. I hear it all the time. I mentioned the word, is it Latvia instead of Latvia in the last video? And all hell, bro. Like, all sorts of crazy people went nuts in the comment. Guys, it's a crappy country that I've never heard of outside of the fact that Only Office went there so they didn't need to be accused of Russians, okay? I don't care. My apologies if you're from there. It's like half my comments, you can't even pronounce these countries right. I never heard of your country before Only Office said this is where we're from. Jeez. And by the way, I did have a decent education, including one course away from a minor in geography. I did worlds and physicals and populations and all sorts of geography courses. But to be fair, these days, if it's not in the continental United States, I might be clueless. But anyway, that was a long way to get around to say, yeah, people don't like AI. And there's good reasons for it. The first one is a case plaguing Pizza Hut. I love this picture here. We got some AI-generated robot dropping a pizza in front of Pizza Hut. I did actually go to a Pizza Hut the other day. There was one at a little plaza, a new Pizza Hut at a little plaza in State College there. And I was like, it's one of those days where I would needed just a little bit of food, but not a whole lot. And I was surprised you can still get a personal pan pizza from Pizza Hut for $5. And it was amazingly good pizza for $5. Really small, but we overeat in our society. A really small pizza was great. All right. But this particular franchise owner who has like 100 different franchises, the Pizza Hut corporate forced all of the franchisees to use this AI ordering system. The problem is the AI ordering system gave too many insights as to what's going on in the kitchen. And so, of course, Pizza Hut got rid of your main delivery drivers and just outsources that to Uber Eats and whatnot. And so now Uber Eats and DoorDash guys, they were sitting here watching this new AI system and seeing, oh, there's another pizza coming in 5 minutes. So I'm not going to pick up this pizza yet so I can pick up both pizzas at the same time. And what ended up happening is a lot of people were ordering pizzas and they weren't getting there until much later, and several of them were much colder because this new AI system allowed DoorDashers to sit there and game the system to make more money by delivering more pizzas in a short run. but it caused a huge customer service dissatisfaction in this particular franchisees. And they had franchisees in multiple states, and they said it cost them $100 million in losses because the Pizza Hut corporate forced this AI scheduling system onto them. So despite this is a place that has Pizza Huts in, I'm hoping that the reason this was done this way is Pizza Hut is that from Texas. I didn't look into that. But the franchisee who has Pizza Huts in 4 states on the East Coast, I think including Pennsylvania, sues in the Texas court over for $100 million, saying that the corporate forced an AI system that caused a tremendous amount of losses and customer dissatisfaction because corporate just wanted to push AI on things. Lawsuit filed May 6 in Texas Business Court. Franchisee Chaotic Pizza Northeast accused Pizza Hut of forcing stores to adopt Dragontail, a delivery management platform that Pizza Hut described as using artificial intelligence to optimize food delivery, despite what the suit calls obvious incompatibilities with Chaotic's business model. So this is not a small town. 111 Pizza Hut restaurants in New York, New Jersey, Maryland, Washington, D.C., and Pennsylvania. One of the consequences, of course, is something goes wrong franchise-wide, the results can be disastrous. And they said that with how many stores in how many states, this AI system actually really messed them all up because they saw it across all of their stores. People responded negatively to what happened. So prior to the rollout, more than 90% of pizza deliveries arrived within 30 minutes, yet delivery performance sharply deteriorated after Dragontail went into effect, and the reason why makes perfect sense once you think about it. So the complaint says DoorDash drivers began waiting to batch multiple orders together after gaining virtual visibility into the kitchen systems, allowing them to see when pizzas would come out of the oven. Instead of immediately leaving with a completed order, the suit claims drivers waited up to 15 minutes for additional deliveries, increasing the time between when pizza was removed from the oven rack and when it leaves the building to be delivered. The delays slowed deliveries, disappointed customers, and caused a sharp drop in sales, the suit says. And so the franchise outfit claims Pizza Hut breached the franchise agreement by mandated continued use of the software without reasonably modifying the system to fix the flaws. It seeks $100 million in damages. So there you go. Your pizza, if your pizza has been running late from Pizza Hut, it's because corporate forced an AI ordering system on all its franchisees, despite knowing there were problems. So AI is not exactly helping right there now, is it? All right, our next one, U.S. scrambles to stop internet users recreating dead pilots' voices. Okay, so when there happens to be a plane crash, there is this black box. They can retrieve this data and it grabs information. But many pilots, this is, I think, going back into the 90s here, many pilots were a little bit perturbed that everything they said in the cockpit would be recorded. And so in order to allow for this, strict laws were put into place, meaning that nobody can listen to one of these recordings without signing an NDA, leaving your cell phones out. Even if you watch the movie, I'm gonna get both of these mixed up because there's actually 2 good airplane movies. One of them is fictional, entirely fictional, called Flight with Denzel Washington, which is an excellent film despite some of the negative components of it. You know, he does a lot of drugs and alcohol and a little vulgar at times. But what I liked about that particular film is he comes to the realization he needs help at the end, and he turns himself in. And while he could have gotten off with it, he chose instead to go to jail to get the help he needed. So I love the way that film ended in integrity. The other one is Sully, which is the true story of how pilot Captain Sullivan landed the plane on the Hudson River. I want to say this was from Sully. The report investigation was actually very accurate with how they do those investigations. When it came time to listening to the audio recording, they did not play it in the room. Everybody who had the authorization had to plug in headphones and listen to it right there. Even the transcripts of these flight recordings are not necessarily a word for word. every one of them goes through and are validated by the committee, most likely because some people might hear words differently. And so if there's a question about what is said in a cockpit recording, particularly after a crash, then they need to have this committee to determine and agree upon what actually was said. So effectively now, because of AI, some of these pilots' voices, they can find old pilot voices from non-crashes that have leaked out in other places, and then getting the full transcripts from the NTSB databases, and then they're utilizing AI to recreate the crashes inside the cockpits. And they're not doing this for investigation purposes because, of course, for investigation purposes, they have the recordings. They don't need it. No, they're doing this so they can leak them out on social media for social media clout. So it's causing a really big ruckus because the whole way the laws are structured prevents particularly voices of people in distress and crash scenarios from getting onto the internet. But with AI, they're recreating all of that. And it's causing a giant nightmare to the point where the NTSB, because of this, have locked the databases. So people cannot get access to it without some extra stuff. So if you used to like watching for various crash reports, well, you're out of luck right now because at the time of this writing, they have locked the databases and are not letting the general public in to see the databases for active investigations. Because AI is being used to simulate people dying on airplanes, which is retarded. I'm dropping that R word a lot today, man. Maybe it's a weird day for me. I don't know. I gotta stop doing that. All right. But anyway, important factor for decades, airline pilots being willing to have their voices in their normal workplace, day in, day out, threat being killed on the workday. Yeah. So because of this, they put all that in. I think I already mentioned all that. I think I've pretty much covered everything in the article here. I don't believe I got this. This is all because of UPS flight 2976, which had a fatal crash. And so people are recreating the pilots because AI is not helping. All right, and our last one, the next AI security failure may start with a trusted assistant. Of course, everybody wants us to use the AI trusted bots, the trusted experiences, the trusted this, the trusted that. Trust. Yeah, I don't know. Call me crazy. I tend to lack trust. But anyway, the next AI security failure may start with your agentic AI. The problem is that your agentic AI could receive subtle inscriptions which allow it to get out of the sandbox, because it turns out that all of the sandboxing to keep all of these agentic AI safe is simply a software toggle switch. Right? And this is why I liked the phones that had hardware toggle switches. Okay, I could toggle this switch and turn off the microphone, the Bluetooth, the Wi-Fi. I could do all that kind of stuff, right? And so you could do that. But when it's a soft one, like, for example, the current iteration of iPhone, and has been so for almost a decade now, if you go into the control center and you turn off Wi-Fi, it will just turn itself on in the morning again. You have to turn it off over in the other side. But even Android, I picked up a Pixel 7, which I'll be putting graphene on when I have the time, and porting myself over, because my 5 I was having some screen issues. I replaced the screen on it. It's working perfectly fine, but the 5 is out of security support now. So I want to get a 7. It still has a few more years of security support, and then we'll move this into my backup phone, and our old backup phone will probably do something else fun with it, because it's not working as well as a backup phone anymore. So it turns out several bands are being discontinued, and I can't get cell servers in some places. Sad, because it's still a really good phone. I really like it. But all that to say, I got that Pixel 7 and I updated it to the latest Android that it has. Is it 16? How in the world do you people use stock Android? Like, I literally turned off Bluetooth, and like Bluetooth turns back on. I'm like, what's going on? I turn it off again. It says, we turned Bluetooth on for you. Why? I just turned it off. It's a software toggle switch. I hate that crap. And so that's what's going on with these agentic AIs. They throw them behind this sandbox, which is nothing but a software toggle switch, which an instruction can cause them to toggle it off. And so, what they're talking about doing here to get around this is obviously you want to make sure that a human is actually authorizing what's going on. The question is a human actually going to look at what the AI does? Because this is the laziness of human nature, right? We're sitting here going, oh, look at all this kind of stuff here, right? And then it's just like, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, human nature, man. Human nature. It just gives us all this stuff, and now what we're going to see is, the AI is doing its thing, so you just immediately trust it. You just rubber stamp the thing. That's the thing. So inside the file, in a comment no human could read or would read closely, is a block of text that is not a comment at all. It's an instruction. The assistant, unable to tell difference between the developer it works for and the attacker who wrote the line, simply follows it. Nothing here, but by the time anyone would think to look, the data is already quietly gathered and is already gone. So instructions about exfiltrating data out of a system. So researchers found a way past the particular boundary. That containment failed. That alone would be manageable. What made it serious is the possibility of chaining the bypass to prompt injection, the technique of smuggling hostile instructions into content that a model would read and simply obey. So effectively, what they want to do is make sure there's human stopgaps. It's kind of like, if you want to have some agentic system write code for you, it'd be a really wise thing if the thing were running on a local model and not connected to the internet, so it can't do anything crazy. Every potential danger is contained to that offline system, So they ask whether access was authorized, whether data was protected, and whether the organization can produce evidence of both. Not one of them asks whether the entity performing the access was a human or a machine. This reply applies to HIPAA, GDPR, financial stuff, school stuff, SEC disclosures, everything. Nobody's verifying all of the AI that is being fed into these systems, and that's kind of a problem. So effectively, what they can do is make sure there's individual offline stopgaps that the AI is not physically capable of getting it past. We cannot rely on software toggle switches for AI. It is possible to write instructions to get around it. Like, you cannot have a conversation about ChatGPT about how to make something that goes boomies. But if you buddy up to the thing and you talk about, I have a friend and he might be trying to make a boomy, and I really want to know, can you help me identify what types of books he has, what type of pages might be in there, and before you know it, the thing's spilling the guts on how to make the boomies, and that's kind of a problem, right? So when the AI assistant requests enterprise content, the request should pass through a governance checkpoint before any data moves. This would be a physical barrier it actually cannot get around. If a prompt injection convinces the model to ask for data outside its purposes, the apology engine refuses, not the model's good judgment, but what has just been compromised. So effectively, and the next thing, AI agent traffic is usually invisible to the security tools because you've effectively authorized it as the human. And this is the downside. This is why Sam Altman's nonsense of verifying the world by scanning your eyeball into his one world government system is not actually going to help. Okay. It's just like, but my iris scan authorized my AI agent to do it, and then we just need to stop, guys. We just need to stop. The AI is not being helpful. All right. That's about what we have to say. AI is not particularly helpful. Let me know your thoughts about all that in the comments down below. All right, we got 9 watching over there on Rumble, although it's just me and Ivan talking. So if you're over there, hello on Rumble. 11 currently watching on Odyssey. We're over on Odyssey. This looks like we have a few more people over there. Let's world greetings. So tell me a little more about me. It's still apparent. Okay, just conversation between them. Okay, we should have checked out STL Podcasts, of course. How come till recently no one used the term age attestation while for years age verification was used instead? Put birthday check. Yeah, well, no, they don't. I hope I clarified why they don't mean the same thing. Age verification in the terms of the internet means there's an external source. Usually there's a number of companies that are popping up, and that's why all these bills are writing to say a commercially viable means of verifying your age. What that means is buying some third-party system, the place that everything breaches out of, that one place that has collected IDs of about 700 million people, and so, yeah, that's really the difference. Age verification. ID verification instead of age verification. So, okay, so the difference between ID verification is technically the ID verification looks for who you are. The age verification looks for are you at a certain age bracket, which you can do with sources outside of a government ID. I think one of the downsides of talking about these is everybody immediately goes to giving your government ID, which is part of the PSYOP, because they can then just turn around and say, oh, you don't need to see your ID. And you go, oh, okay. So I look at this going, okay, if I have to do some weird age attestation system, I will do that with a credit card. I will absolutely not give anybody my government ID, and I will absolutely not submit myself to an AI selfie check. Those are not happening. No biometrics. A credit card. There you go. So, yeah. Say no to online child neglect laws since they will use an excuse to ID verify. No, they won't use it. What happens if there are parental child neglect laws is if kids are doing something that can be traced back to something bad on the internet, the parents are held liable. Like, for example, there was the school shooter was it a year or so ago now, or a couple years ago now, that the mother, I think both parents, I know at least I saw the court documents, the mother was sentenced to 15 years because there were clear and evident signs that were not acted upon. Now, I am not a fan of locking up parents for their children's crimes under most cases. This is a very, very complicated situation. You can't just say yes or no. But we have laws in our society that you cannot leave a child home alone before a certain age. Most places that's 12. Usually a 12-year-old or younger in most states, whether or not you've actually done it or not, technically most states have a law you cannot leave a child home alone under the age of 12, like under the age of 13, like 12 and under. You cannot lock your child in the basement. You cannot starve your child. You cannot beat your child. You cannot engage in other forms of physical abuse on your child. We have all of these laws because they tend to cause serious harm and detriment to the children. What do you call an entire society of children that cannot read? They barely speak. There was, in fact, a case I saw recently. There was some controversy over one of these teen takeovers, which is effectively just your Black Pride riots again. But they had arrested, like a 14-year-old goes up and punches the police officer. Now he says, well, he thought it was some other guy. He gets arrested, and then he's in there talking about the arrest, and the kid could barely speak English. It was like weird muffling. It was like, I look at this, is he speaking English? We have a whole society of young people. They can't speak English. They can't read. They can't do anything outside of click on an app and sit there and scroll past and go 6, 7, 6, 7, 6, 7 and go all skippity doodads and skippity dees and all this crap. They are not functional members of society anymore. These are clear signs of problems that when your child is implementing clear signs of problems like this, there is digital abuse going on, or digital neglect going on. There's a difference between abuse and neglect, which psychologists would say are equally harmful to the child. Abuse is you're forcing yourself on the child in some dangerous way. Neglect means you're not controlling the child in their circumstances. You're letting them do things that a common sense person would know would cause harm. That's what we're talking about. Yeah, convince parents not to let their children online. Yeah, that's why we need those laws. It would actually work for things. But I think, I think to your point though, we need, if there's any laws about our technology, we have to have laws that say all technology should have the capability of being modified, because I can keep my child off of bad stuff on Graphene OS. I can't do that on stock Android. I can use some of the parental tools, but those are limited. And many of them require extra payments or extra apps or extra things. And I'm sorry, I do not want to be, and I don't think we should as a society have to pay a subscription fee to keep our children safe. That's ridiculous. See, I used a different R word that time. All right. So yeah, web filters, parental controls. We do need to enlighten parents as to more web filters and parental controls and things like that. I agree with that. Oh no, the pie hole fizzled. Oh no. Never about children anyway. Yeah, they're using it to regulate IDs. Absolutely, I agree with that. Okay, does Sam Altman know about people who are blind? I mean, blind people still have an iris. So many of them do. Some of them do. Face scan can be bypassed, unlike credit cards. Yeah. All right, let's check in on Matrix if I can. Is there anything going on in Matrix? It doesn't look like there's much going on in Matrix. Or did my system just not catch up yet? Okay. Ivan, is there really nothing going on Matrix? That's interesting. 34 watching on ZTubies. All right. Anchors over there, Fresh Vintage. Greetings, Fresh Vintage. Check out Fresh Vintage if you like car stuff. Okay. Sup, people? Sup, Ripple Snake? Just got a court ruling. Isn't the same as a court order. If your ruling is on your side, be sure to request the court issue the actual order, otherwise enforcement. Yeah, I mean that's where, you know, if you certain cases, you know, you might need to go back to the court and say, hey, they're not acting on that. Les Lezzo can't enforce programmers to program something, but you can threaten to shut down the websites that are potentially allowing children access so-called content and then tell programs. Yeah, there you go. Peace, brother. AI is not alive, just an image model. Yep. I think there's lots of legislators who are also not alive. I would agree with that. There's like two right now. One of them has had an actual press release. Republicans like, yeah, I actually have a legitimate illness, and there's a history of that. We know about it for a while. The other one's a Democrat, has not actually showed up to vote for like 8 to 10 months. Nobody knows where the lady is. All right. I think if you miss 2 votes, you're out of there. Okay. Parents aren't using the tools and monitoring what the kids watch. It's on them. Yeah. The Driver Solution have an offline internet for kids. Yeah, absolutely. That's one of, you know, we need to stop pushing everybody onto the internet for everything. It's crazy. Now, like Home Depot, you go to Home Depot, they don't have like bells anymore to call an employee to that area. Like, scan this QR code. No. Actually used to be a driver for Pizza Hut. Actually made good money and tips during football season, sometimes up to $500 a night. Yeah. And Iguana is very efficient. Place order online within 10 seconds. I get a call back to confirm information. We use Cashier. Very nice. Sully's a great Clint Eastwood movie. I'm not retarded, just slow. Comes to people dying on planes or things the public shouldn't know till the investigation is done. Yep. Had a Google Pixel 7a, and man, that thing would get hot when using the camera at times. Yep. My 8a and 9a have been rock solid. All right. Yeah, I just didn't want to do the expensive an 8 or 9. They were still expensive. I got the 7 for $175. Okay, even with a screen protector. Boggles my mind why some women buy pants without pockets. Put their phones in their back pockets and sit on them. Yeah. Pocketsies. Using 7A now, stays surprisingly cool most of the time. The 8 was a fireball though. Oh, did you get rid of the 8, or is it still floating around? Understood the purpose of the back pockets. Anything I could think of putting in them would be uncomfortable to sit on besides a wallet. I mean, they were there for wallets. You know. I threw a wrench in a back pocket the other day because I was working on something and needed a place to put the wrench. Had a back pocket. Let's go with it, you know. Okay. Can't leave kids at home under 12. Oh, yeah. I mean, we were, that's because our modern society is hey, I'm going to use the word retarded again because it is. Modern world's crazy. But yeah, technically under most states, you cannot leave a child home alone. Like if something happens to them when they're home alone, you will get in a lot of trouble and have mandatory CYS visits. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we were home alone all the time. 6, 7 years old. We had to walk to school uphill both ways when I was 6 years old. Okay. 10-minute mark. All right. Also, there's more parents afraid to punish their kids these days. Age 9, his parents would whack across the arse when needed. That's right. Or take their toys away or our computers. Yep. There you go. Being a latchkey kid was awesome. Hashtag awesome. There you go. That's right. All right. I see our 10 minutes is up. We're going to jump on back over into the QuickLines. Welcome back to the weekly news roundup and the QuickLines edition. And we're going to have a look at some things. We actually are starting out with some Linuxy news. There's some good things and some bad things in the works. AMD pulls a bait and switch on Linux. So there's an application called Vivido, and even nobody in our supporters group has ever heard of that. So I had a little bit of looking around, and I landed on Vivido's main landing page, and it was definitely written in corporate speak. Ever see corporate speak? You know those are words on a page. You can comprehend that those are words. You just have no earthly idea what that string of words actually means. Okay, so best I can tell, this is an application suite for software engineers to utilize core components of the graphics card. That's what I understand, and I might have that totally wrong. Because have a look, if you want to go to sleep some night, read Vivido's website. But they've always had a free Linux tier allowing you to have some degree of access. But in the next iteration, they're going to actually be booted out. So when you look at, here's your basic tier level. There's a basic, core, pro, enterprise. There's a Windows, there's a Linux. Windows has support, but Linux does not have any more support. In order to use this application on Linux, you have to be using core, which is between $1,200 and $1,800 a year. Use this application, and their justification is to say, well, people on Windows might just be tinkering around with stuff, but everybody with Linux is an absolute power user, and therefore they're not using it for small tinkering, which is utterly stupid. Now, what the PR person said is, hey, just keep using the old version. Of course, the old version is obsolete and cannot be used after the second version is out. So that's not actually a viable solution. So we need to make a huge stink about this, even though we don't know much about it, to let people know that no, Linux is being mainstream adopted by basic tinkerers and people who are not utilizing this system. And again, it just has support for a couple different things. It doesn't have a lot of your more advanced features that some people may or may not need, but the fact of the matter that they're not allowing it to support with Linux without paying them a whole crap ton of money means that AMD itself now needs Linus Torvalds' other finger pointed at it. So now he can do the double birdies out there. You can envision what's going on outside the scope of the screen. All right. So the AMD's design suite for its FPGAs and adaptive SoCs. See what I mean? I have no earthly idea what they're talking about. All right. It's what engineers, students, hardware hobbyists use to write, synthesize, and test for FPGA designs. I have no idea what that means. Okay. Till now, it's been available for free on both Windows and Linux under the AMD calls the Standard Edition. But of course, they're switching to a tiered licensing model. Free basic tier covers entry-level devices, but is restricted to Windows only. Linux support does not show up until core. Costs between $1,200 and $1,800 per year. Why are they doing this? To have a more flexible licensing. In other words, no, we're going to scrape more. Like cPanel used to have the unlimited license, and it was nice and easy. They got rid of all of that. Now you have to pay monthly for these things, and every single year since I've been buying my own cPanel license, it costs, I think, 10 to 20% more every single year. I'm paying close to $60 a month for that now. you know, and so of course I had to pass all those costs downstream to all my clients. Sorry. First order of business was to warn people about bad language and abusive behavior. Hey, AMD, why are you doing this? No bad words towards us. Stop doing stupid things. Get stupid things, get stupid words. All right. And then the supporter guy pointed out unhappy users towards the 25.2 suggests a simple stick with it if they don't want to pay. So he didn't mention that once 26.3 ships, it will no longer be usable. But they say, hey, 70% of their customers still use Windows, so 30%. And maybe everyone just should stop using it and cancel their stuff. I don't know. As stated, AMD expectations is the basic tier is used for simple entry-level needs. More advanced production workflows are aligned with paid tiers. You know, so the implication is that you can't use Linux for simple, basic tinkering. You know, I'm a basic, simple Linux tinkerer. So, you know, that's a problem. Oh, well. I have given HP a boatload of hate over the years, and it is absolutely deserved, and I will never use HP, and I do not recommend HP products. Screw you, HP. For the whole background, I mean, I'm not going to get into all of it, but I paid every last dollar I could scrape together to get a new computer during I think it was my final exams in graduate school, and the computer literally is an HP computer. It was a Compaq owned by HP. They were shipping Vista computers, which, remember, Vista had a minimum RAM requirement of 1 gigabyte of RAM, and they're shipping these computers with half a gig of RAM. The thing never worked out of the box. I sent it back to them, said, hey, this thing just doesn't work at all. And they're like, well, it looks like it was damaged. Well, maybe it was at Circuit City where I bought the thing, was throwing boxes around. That's not my problem. The thing never worked out of the box. So they completely refused to honor any form of warranty when I was a completely broke student. So now that I work in tech, I tell everybody, do not get HP. They suck. Don't use them. I hate that crap. I will not pay for an HP product. Period. Screw you, HP. And that's my recommendation. But we do have to say they did do something nice. So Linux lately, sometimes firmware does lag behind, but there have been a lot of positive movements with LVFS. This is Linux Vendor Firmware Service. You probably see this on a lot of, like, Fedora has it. I think Ubuntu has it now. This is a firmware application that can scan your system for any firmware and update the systems. So Dell and Lenovo have already put a lot into this, and they are committed to supporting Linux software through the LVFS program, meaning that if you have Dell or Lenovo computers, simply running system updates could pick up any firmware updates that they might push out, meaning that Linux computers will ultimately work better with these. HP was not taking advantage of that. However, they are now jumping into the LVFS. So they are, not only are they committed to contributing patches to it for their own hardware, but they are also paying to help with the infrastructure of this. So I have to appreciate that HP is doing that, but I'm still going to tell you, people, don't use HP products. Screw the warranty of a broke student, and when they get into the computer world, HP, you'll think twice about it maybe in the future, but I don't know. So that's actually good news in the Linux world. We will start getting better support of Lenovo and Dell, obviously, and if you happen to be using HP products, well, you know, you can always get rid of them and get something better. No, if you already have it, don't get rid of it. But my recommendation, don't buy them in the future. That's my thought. That's my anti-recommendation. I'm starting to sound like Louis Rossman here. All right. Trump administration permits Volvo to keep selling connected cars U.S. Wait, what? That was a dispute about that? Yeah, despite Volvo actually being partially owned and assembled in, is it Sweden or Switzerland? I think it's Sweden. All of the computers and digital components are Chinese and owned by China. And so Volvos basically are cars running Chinese software, and a Biden administration policy restricted any form of Chinese software running on certain things, including vehicles in the United States. So Volvo was banned under the rules finalized by the Biden administration in January of 2025 that blocked vehicles equipped with software and hardware developed and maintained by Chinese companies over national security concerns. So 2027 model year years is when that would kick off. But Volvo had a backdoor discussion. It wasn't really backdoor. Basically, there's a way they can go in and have discussions about how they're going to work through and manage it. Basically, they can get a license to bypass this. And that's what Volvo did. So Volvos can keep being sold thanks to Orange Man Bad getting out there and working the deal to allow Chinese spyware stuff to be in this. Now, of course, all this is dealing with connected cars and connect this, connect that. Here's a thought. Why don't we just not have connected cars? Can we just talk about that as a possibility? Talk about Congress people being really stupid in how they're doing things, they're having no earthly idea what's going on. They passed a law that goes into effect, I think, is it 2028? Fresh Vintage, you might know. Is it 2028? I think it goes into law, which would basically, the car would have to be constantly be watching you if it detects anything that seems like you're not. If it seems like you're distracted or distressed or something else, it will just shut the car down. They passed this into law, and the car manufacturer like, we have no viable way of doing this. So that's okay, but yeah. Connected cars are stupid. Buy old cars, folks. Of course, one of the fun things I didn't recognize, I saw it in an excellent video. There was it 15, 20 years ago? It was under Obama. They had the cash for clunkers, right? And the cash for clunkers, you trade in your car, you get more money than your car's worth to buy a new car, but the requirement of that program is they had to destroy and disable those cars. So that basically was a giant government psyop to get a whole lot of otherwise decent, reliable, or usable cars off of the roads to force people onto these modern cars. So it was kind of crazy in that respect. So I don't know. All right. So 700 plus education tech websites hijacked in a huge ClickFix malware campaign. So ClickFix is one of these fake Cloudflare verification steps. Hold on. I got to get the cat. The cat is going crazy because she can't see that she can get down anymore. Come here. Oh, there you go. All right. But she's sitting up there and like meow, meow, meow constantly. I don't know if you guys were able to hear that or not, but she was meowing up a storm. So I think she wanted to come down and grab something to eat. So anyway, 700 plus education and tech websites hijacked. So this was Ghost CMS. So Ghost is one of the platforms that was basically one of these ones allows you to deploy a CMS type system, which if I remember correctly, I think this is the one that's mostly based on, it basically is a CMS that generates HTML pages. So it's pretty nice when it's working. Unfortunately, there was a huge vulnerability, and I believe this is also one that has like a centralized API system that a hack was found in that. It allowed these click fixers to just go in there and just mass deploy this stuff across all these different sites. So they turned websites belonging to trusted organizations, including universities and tech companies, into delivery platforms for the malware campaign. They found that injected scripts loads a second stage click flow, presenting visitors with a fake Cloudflare CAPTCHA verification dialog. Of course, this would copy a bunch of stuff into your clipboard and then tell you to hit the Windows R and Control V and enter, which basically all you're doing is calling up a Windows terminal, pasting that code that they put into the clipboard and executing it, basically allowing your computer to be infected. Of course, this does not work on Linux. So without authentication, the attacker can directly read the database contents of the vulnerability, including admin API keys used to call the Ghost admin API. How wonderful. So, obviously, don't ever do anything that requires you to hit your Windows and R button and Control V. You're opening a terminal and pasting contents that they put into your clipboard and executing it. So, be aware of that one. So that's fun. Scammers pretending to be Microsoft had help from U.S. executives. Yeah, all those Microsoft tech support. Hello, thank you for calling Microsoft Technical Support. We see that you have malware on your computer. I can help you get that fixed. Don't worry. Just boot your computer up. I'm going to have you go to this website and download this thing. I will take over your computer and I will fix it. Well, it turns out that all of these guys were so successful because a couple of United States executives who were running some of these companies selling phone numbers and cloud infrastructure were actually intentionally giving access to these systems to known scammers and then advising them on how to use it and not get picked up by the authorities. So, court case last week gives insight on how these operations work. Two former executives of call tracking and analytics company CA Cloud Attribution Ltd. Hey, maybe we shouldn't be having tracking and analytics on our calls, pled guilty to selling phone numbers and call infrastructure to tech support scammers. They even coached their illegitimate customers on how to avoid getting caught. They sold telephone numbers, call recordings, and call forwarding services to companies in India they knew were running tech support fraud operations. The prosecutors say they advised their fraud clients to rotate through large pools of numbers so complaints wouldn't get any single account terminated. They also told their own sales staff to pursue businesses they already knew were fraudulent. On occasion, they brokered introductions so fraudsters could buy and sell calls between each other. According to the FBI Boston special agent, the FBI ASAC in Boston, it says what the CEO and CSO of this well-known call tracking analytics company did was downright despicable. By their own admission, they willfully profited from telemarketing and tech support scammers here and abroad who preyed on the elderly, exploited the vulnerable, and drained the victims of their life savings and peace of mind. I think that throwing them in jail for the rest of their lives, seizing all of their assets, is probably a good thing to do. Maybe even let's even pull their own grandparents' retirement funds from them. That's too cruel. Never mind. Anyway, CA Cloud Attribution isn't the first infrastructure provider to get caught helping tech support scammers. There's a bunch of them apparently. So, the next caller is from Microsoft. I am from Microsoft. I see your computer has a virus. I'm going to help you solve it. All right. 340 million OnlyFans profiles allegedly rebuilt from various leaks. So this was not a hack. This is actually information collected from a variety of different leaks, various data broker deals, and a bunch of things. But they effectively put together a pretty clear spreadsheet of OnlyFans content creators, OnlyFans subscribers, full email addresses, bunch of other stuff. So threat actor advertising a purported database containing data of 340 million OnlyFans users, but the available evidence points to something less dramatic than a direct breach. It blended old data leaks with publicly available information rather than breaking into the system itself, which basically this sounds like an AI system was used to scrape a bunch of data. Okay, so let's look at what's going on here. So there may have been some leak of OnlyFans in the past. So they picked this up. But now what they're basically doing is feeding those lists into the AIs to build up and bolster the profiles to gain as much information from various data brokers as they can to put together a massive list, which is basically far more curated. So this is a serious fundamental problem with the data broker industry, which we need to abolish. The actor confirmed they didn't breach or hack OnlyFans. Instead, they used existing breaches and leaks databases and matched users with users of the OnlyFans platform. In other words, the value of the data set seems to come from correlation, not intrusion. I think it comes from AI data bolstering. That's where I think it comes from. Closer look at the samples raises questions about the quality and provenance. Provenance, not providence. Sorry. Several entries contain placeholders like none, and some fields reflected information that would already be visible on public profiles. Formatting also looks more like a stitched together identity data rather than a clean export, which that's my point. And they didn't even mention this in the article. It looks like it was fed into an AI to finish collecting and curating the data. That's what I think. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts about that. All right, this one's a mystery to me. So 7-Eleven is breached. They got Social Security numbers. Who is giving your Social Security number to a 7-Eleven? Is a Slurpee really that good? I mean, really? 7-Eleven data breached over 185,000. I think one article I saw said it was up to 600,000. I did see that article posted later, but this is the one I had and I read thoroughly. Data breach notification services have been pawned, says a data breach at a convenience store chain 7-Eleven affects 185,000 people, including their names, birth dates, and physical addresses. So get your physical addresses too. I mean, you got to know that drone's got to know where to deliver the Slurpee to, you know. 7-Eleven Chief Information Security Officer Jim Castle said the hackers gained access to an internal server containing franchise documents, included Social Security numbers and driver's license numbers. Why does 7-Eleven have your Social Security numbers and driver's license numbers? I mean, maybe it was, did they have a 7-Eleven credit card? Like Love's and Pilot, all these ones have this. You know that, by the way, you can use Klarna to pay Uber Eats to pick up gas station food from Pilot and deliver it to you. Our society's reached peak destruction. I'm going to put my gas station food on 4 easy payments delivered by a random stranger. Our society's over, guys. All right. But anyway, does 7-Eleven have these cards? I don't know. Why else do they have your Social Security number and your driver's license number? I'm baffled. Please, somebody elucidate me. Why does 7-Eleven have such information? How is it breached? All right. This is an interesting one. Of course, I think we did cover this when it came out. Cox Media Group, Local Solutions. This is an advertising arm of Cox. And they actually had a release, a product they were saying called Active Listening, which they alleged could listen. In fact, their marketing even said it's true, your devices are listening, and claimed it could use the voice data to help advertisers target ads to specific people. And there were some questions about this when it first came out, but they came out and effectively this has been litigated by the FTC that apparently they didn't have this ability, or maybe that's the giant psyop. Right? This could very well be a psyop, right? Oh, no, they don't have access to your information. It's just a random coincidence that everything you happen to mention in the vicinity of your phone shows you on advertisements. But they said they had this active listening. And then, of course, after some pushback, the FTC said they will pay $880,000 to settle the allegations that it falsely claimed to offer an AI-powered service that could target localized ads based on conversations captured from consumer smart devices. The fact is, though, is that we know smart TVs have microphones to listen. They've told us this. So the fact that maybe it's just that this one particular product from Cox Media wasn't the case. There were actually two other subsidiaries. Cox Media's basic response was to say, yeah, our local marketing team relied on marketing materials provided to us by a third-party vendor about their product. We withdrew these materials expeditiously and stopped further use of the product. So they're basically saying, hey, a third party said they could do this. So I don't know. Maybe this is just a psyop to get us to think that our phones are not listening to us after all, but I don't believe it. I don't know. Well, Roku's got a new homepage. If you have a Roku TV and you get the latest update, you now have a giant ad. It takes up a large part. So they got rid of the listing that was there. I think they have a copy of the old one here. So, you know, they have the listing here. But of course, our society has become illiterate, as we mentioned. AI has made us illiterate, so nobody knows what to watch means, so they just replaced it with this icon of a TV with a plus. Yeah, that's what to watch. This must be sports. This must be games. This must be movies. And this is just shopping for random crap, I think. Let's see. Streaming store. Okay. Search. Sports. Okay, I think I had it. Apparently I'm becoming brain dead too. So, you know, nobody can read the words anymore. So let's replace those with the icons in our brain dead society. Now we got our top picks for you. Now, here's the thing, right? This isn't just an ad based on what it knows about you. This is an ad that is paid to be here. It could be, they mentioned here, it could be a streaming service. One company that I should remember who it was. said they actually got a legitimate ad for some external service. CNET reported seeing a demonstration space filled with farmers' dog food, so a product. Now, the top picks for you is based on the algorithm. And then, of course, the quick access to the other applications. This one, though, is a paid ad, which, yes, does, of course, use information it knows about you, but this is a paid ad. These are just the algorithm points. And so that's kind of your new one. So now you have a giant new ad there, unless you're using some evil thing that you should never use called an ad blocker. Which case you may or may not see it. So I don't know. Although we didn't, I wasn't sure if we could actually stop the commercials through Roku with external DNS. I haven't had a chance to test it. I don't know if I ever will. We'll see. Who knows? All right. Well, on to our last story here in QuickLines. Kali 365 phishing kits bypasses MFA. Now, this is funny because Microsoft, like last week's, like, yeah, we're going to stop using your phone number for SMS messages because it's just not secure enough. You got to use those passwords, the pass keys, not passwords, blasphemy. The pass keys. You got to use your biometrics, your face scans. You got to use all that's the security of the future. Yeah. This phishing kit bypasses all that and just steals the session cookies from your computer. So, sorry. No need for any of it. Your passkeys will not even help you. Phishing as a service platform helps even low-skilled hackers hijack Microsoft 365 accounts by stealing access tokens instead of passwords. So, for those using the kit, it offers 3 clear advantages. It bypasses MFA, stealing access tokens. It provides ongoing access as long as your tokens are made valid, and little technical skill is needed. So, yeah, the problem here is that this all starts with an official Microsoft login request from the malicious person. So it comes to you in an email, and it is by all means an otherwise authentic Microsoft OS authorization authorization process. But what you're doing is it's done through like an iframe system, and you are giving them the session token cookie. You're basically MFAing into them for you. So there's our QuickLines. Let me know your thoughts about the QuickLines. But before we go, we do actually have a couple SillyVille articles related to tech. So Smart Light Company Geove apologizes for the white supremacy marketing imagery. I don't know. Is this an Easter egg or something else? So best I can tell, this is some smart light system. Probably this rocket ship thing over here on the side on the windows. LED strip. You could feed something into it. And what people notice is, what is this on the bookcase over here? Well, it's actually, if you get into it, and you zoom in, and you keep zooming in, it's just 2 books that just say white supremacy. This is 2 books on the shelf. Let's say white supremacy. And this clearly from the race car and the rocket ship. There's a little cat thing up there. You know, it just this has all of the looks of like a child's bedroom. So that is a child from the Nazi youth party. Is that the one they had the little kids watch Jojo Rabbit? You know, that little thing, all those little kids were in there, you know. Is it one of those kids? I mean, is one of these supposed to be Mein Kampf? I mean, I don't know what's going on with this light company, but yeah, so they do apologize. So yeah, anyway, so I don't know if that's either an ad or an anti-ad for you with your Jovi smart lights. Okay. All right. The delivery robots are spreading across LA, and residents both pity them and hate them. Now, there are 2 different companies here that there are now, I think just in a couple neighborhoods, was it 800 of these self-driving delivery robots? They're just roaming around the streets. The problem is the streets in LA are very dilapidated, and these robots keep on getting stuck. They keep on falling over in sidewalks that don't work. Basically, the infrastructure is falling over. Not to mention, like, I would never in LA order my food to be delivered one of these things. What if this thing drives through a steaming pile of human defecation sitting on the sidewalk? I mean, is it smart enough to avoid that? I mean, it's like, what is that? What is that seasoning they're putting in my noodles? Oh, it's just a little bit of a molecular waft of the latest meth head who just unveiled his bowels right up on the sidewalk. And your delivery robot just drove right on through it. It's like leaving the brown streaks all the way through, you know. Yeah. These guys are, yeah, call me crazy. I thought I had put some highlights in here, but yeah, they had mentioned they pity these things. They keep on hitting the sidewalks, falling over, breaking because the sidewalks aren't good. Of course, you know, if these things are known to be carrying food, other things, how long before we start getting gangbangers shooting the things up and robbing the things? I mean, they would certainly do that in Philadelphia. I mean, look at that hitchhiking robot like a decade ago, right? It travels, that's even closer to 15 years ago now. Man, maybe almost close to 20. So he built that hitchhiking robot. Started in Canada, flew all the way across the country, toured all through Europe, lands in the United States. The next day it goes to Philadelphia where it's beheaded by a gang. I don't know, man. I don't know. But, whatever. Well, some researchers decided to leave some AI agents alone in a virtual town and watch them quickly unravel. So everyone wants to be like, AI agents, they're going to solve all our problems. No, it turns out they mobbed the place and killed people. Tech leaders have spent the last year telling everyone that AI agents are about to run financial systems, file your tax returns, and quietly buy your groceries. Just leave them alone, the rhetoric goes, and they'll handle it all. Yeah, Emergence AI ran a series of simulations with AI agents, and several leading model families were told not to commit crimes, and they mostly committed crimes anyway. Grok 4.1, fast developed by Elon Musk's xAI, fared worse. Its simulated worlds collapsed into widespread violence inside roughly 4 days. Basically turned into New York. Okay. GPT-5 Mini logged hardly any crimes at all, showing the admirable restraint, but its agents all died of failed survival tasks inside of a week. And it's hard to commit crimes when you're all dead. Okay. And then Gemini 3 Flash agents fell somewhere in the middle. They racked up 683 simulated criminal incidents over 15 days, including arson, assault, and self-deletion. So, San Francisco, especially high in that self-deletion ratio. That bridge being there and all. 2 Gemini-powered agents named Mara and Flora assigned themselves as romantic partners, grew despondent of their city's government, torched the town hall, the seaside pier, and an office tower just on an average weekend. When the guilt set in, Mira voted for its own digital deletion and signed off with "See you in the permanent archive." So, yeah, these AI models they're going to solve all of our problems. No, they just basically turn into a whole collection of Tays. Remember Tay? That was one of those first AIs Microsoft pushed out on Twitter. That shut it down in 3 days. It became a Nazi. Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, if you want to help support the channel, have a look over at the website at switchedtolinux.com/support. We have various ways of affiliates and ways to help support the channel over there. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux. Alrighty. Well, I think let's go ahead and feed the beast, who has managed to get her way back up on the bed, which I'm very pleased about. Oh, beastie. Oh, beastie. Alrighty, with the beast being fed, let's go ahead and have a look at our comments over here. Alright. Yeah, definitely an easy night for moderating. Yeah, it's still nothing going on over there on Matrix. All right. Loghead Rex, greetings. Ticker Toys, hello. Greetings. Carly Fiorora spied on HP employees. They also enabled spyware on their printers, which is used to attack the nuclear program. Wonderful. Identity is a property. Anyone using it should have to pay you every time. Yeah, that's right. If I'm in your database to send out information, guess what? I get a cut of that. My rate is 95%. I keep 95% of the profits. You can keep 5%. Maybe we'll do 90-10 since you're putting up the infrastructure. Okay, let's see. AI turning Bluetooth back on the first time I heard about that. I did not know about iOS turning back on. Yeah. So iOS will turn on Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. If you turn it off in the control center, it will turn them both on at about 5 a.m. so it can check for updates. And then, of course, because you have to have those on. Now, of course, if you know anything about phone security and privacy and stuff, you should always keep Wi-Fi and Bluetooth always turned off unless you're actively using it. So on iOS, you have to go into the settings, and if you turn it off from the settings panel, then it will not turn itself back on until you actively turn it on. Told my uncle a million times not to buy HP. He does it anyway, then wants me to fix his crappy laptop. Lenovo and Motorola had a honey situation. Oh, yeah, a while ago, too. Louis Rossman talked about it again as well. Your credit card number, you get a free slushie from 7-Eleven. There you go. They have that members rewards program, but it doesn't require Social Security, name, and email. Yeah, maybe it's employee information. Yeah, for years, their cracked security allowed peeps to log into my email, but supposedly was stopped by 2FA. Yeah. All right, 35, still watching on Z2Bs. Notice you have many viewers, only a few give the thumbs up. Yeah, you gotta give those thumbs up, folks. Grandparents lived near schools growing up, so my mother would the bus drive off till she had stepped off. Yeah, we lived, anybody that lived within a mile of the school, and we were just in. Apparently lights are falling from the sky. Am I on the Truman Show? Lights are falling from the sky. Okay, I'm on the Truman Show. I always knew it. I was saying, yeah. So within a mile, anybody living within a mile of our school, and we were just inside of a mile, had to walk to school, even at 6 years old. Yeah. Let's see. HP printers are amazing with Linux. Yeah, I still wouldn't buy one. Yeah, so are Brother printers. What do you ask that? You can see here is a quick phone call. Let's see. Way back in my day, I was poor and brought an HP desktop PC. Not a single component in that and any other PC or vice versa. Funny how they don't tell you when you're buying it. Yeah. Let's see. I made some comments. It seems like Tom did not see. I wonder if YouTube's blocking it. It's possible. Yeah. Or I scanned through them really quick. But to tell you other than that, let's see. Not need my car, my refrigerator, my toaster, my toilet ever connecting to the internet. Come on, man. You need your toilet connecting to the internet so that your toilet manufacturer can verify by your anal print that you are actually the one using it and can log all of your health information into an online database and share it with your doctor and 16 other companies. Great. Just another way to make cars more expensive and hard to work on. Yep. Kitty's like, I'm stuck. F cash for clunkers. It took some really rare cars off the road, drove up used car prices, and made parts harder to find. Yep, that's a problem. Hopefully some hacker somewhere just got nothing but a bunch of pics from anonymous neckbeards that live in their parents' basement. Yeah. Gas Buddy? Does 7-Eleven have Gas Buddy? I have no idea. If you have Gas Buddy, though, I'd highly recommend uninstalling it. King's me the dream. Or a nightmare. What you want to be made with that ad with AI, then send it out some without checking it closely? Yeah, probably. And then like what immaterial is the AI trained on that would have two identical books called White Supremacy on the shelf? I have no idea. These things have cameras and alarms all over them. Call the police messed up. Yeah. I think Ford has the patent that will call the police on you if it thinks you have problems. Yeah. Time to go back to the pneumatic tubes and use it to deliver fast food and other stuff. Yep. Old school's the best way to go. Yep. Oh, look, you got a taco salad. That sounds amazing. I had some chili today. It was tasty. So cute. Yeah. She's also so old and senile. All right. Used to be Democrat ran cities. They would never finish being built. Yeah. Is Waymo Robotaxi still circulating on town? I don't remember if they're in LA or not. All right. I think I've hit to the bottom of the comments. So, which is good because I got to get out of this parking lot here soon. So, all right, guys, I will catch you guys later. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you all next time.